Yo, what is poppin', guys? It is your boy Ashley, and today we're going to be bringing you every game we had in the NPL this year. Now, we took over from my main man Deebs, shout out to Deebs, during week 4 of the NPL. So we started off with an 0-3 record and a team that I'm not super fond of. It's kind of been a revolving door all season. I used pretty much the max amount of transactions and trades and swaps and drops and whatever you want to call them. Just testing out. Basically, this season for me was just trying to get that experience up with good battlers and use a variety of Pokemon that I haven't gotten the chance to use or frankly am just curious about. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it because we got a lot of games. First up, we play Omega Jolteon, and also just as a quick reminder, I haven't seen any of these games in a really long time. There's a couple that I remember, but for the most part, a lot of these games are a little bit foreign to me, I guess. So we're going to talk through them together. I'm not going to go over my team prep because the video will be 8 hours long, but we are going to start off against my main man, Omega Jolteon. So I lead my Lipard and hard switch out into my Rotom. There's not a whole lot I figured I could do to his Cobalion. I'm just going to get the Volt Switch up as he just Toxics me and gets his rocks up. So not off to a great start, but Latios is in, and we're going to be able to force a nice little switch. Of course, he does have the great counter being the keys, but we do get a crit here, which is really, really nice. We are Life Orb Latios this week, so that is really not something you want to play around with. So I'm going to switch right back out into Lipard as he is going to miss the Play Rough, which is nice for me because Lipard is not super bulky. And now I'm just going to double hard out into Rhydon. Not really making my best plays here, but just taking unnecessary rocks damage all around. Switch hard out into Rhydon to tank that really well, as he's going to go right out into Serena, which does not take that Ice Punch well at all. Really happy with the prediction on that one because obviously it's not doing anything to Klefki, as he is going to make a little bit of a, not a prediction of his own, but he's going to bop that Latios with a U-turn, go right back out into the Cobalion, which is already pretty much proved that I'm having some issues with. So I'm going to go right back into my Rotom Wash. Now, I don't think that was the best move either, but it does force the switch, so not bad. I'm going to take this opportunity to defog these rocks away because at this point I'm really going to need Kyurem healthy in order to start denting this man's team. And he's just going to go ahead and Zen Headbutt me with the Mew as we get the Volt Switch off. So we don't take much at all from that Zen Headbutt, and we get a nice little priority here. We're going to go straight back into Lipard, which I've just been switching in and out. I actually haven't gotten to use a move on it yet, so I'm not sure exactly what I have on here, as I'm going to reveal the Foul Play and give that Cobalion its justified boost. So that's obviously not ideal, but we do have a nice little option here. I'm going to taunt to avoid the Swords Dance or the Rock Polish. He goes straight for the close combat. No harm, no foul. I'm not super psyched on Lipard as a Pokemon. On paper, it's a lot better than it is in practice. So I don't mind sacking it off right there. He is going to actually hard switch into the Toxapex on the Hydro Pump, which is a pretty solid play. But I think that pretty much just gives me a very free Volt Switch, which is going to do a good bit of damage. I imagine he'll probably recover here, so I'm going to go straight out into Kyurem Black, as he is just going to throw off a nice little Toxic. So putting my Kyurem on a timer is obviously not ideal, but we do get the Fusion Bolt off and knock out the Toxapex, which is really nice. So, I mean, it doesn't really, I mean, I guess it walls a good bit. It walls my Rabombi as well as my Rotom. Excuse me. So we bounce right back out into my boy Aaron Cybertron 2420. I actually forgot to put the 0 with the M, or it cut off. That's okay. He's just going to take this opportunity to set up the rocks again, and anticipating a switch, I am just going to defog them away because, as I said, I believe I'm probably Sash Rabombi, given how adamant I am about making sure that these rocks go away. I believe I might be adamant. So he goes ahead and throws off a, Focus Sash. He goes ahead and throws off a huge Power Whip and knocks out my Rotom, which is not ideal, but Benzie is in, Benzie is now, and I am going to set up the Quiver Dance against this Klefki. So it can do a lot of things. It can set up screens. It can, well, I guess I'm just switching right out then. Yeah, he sets up a screen here as I go right into right on. I imagine he'll probably set up a reflect here or just hard switch out into Mew, whichever works, as I am just going to take this opportunity to get up rocks. I don't think that was the wisest decision. I think I probably should have just fired off an attack there because as you can see, he actually is a bulk up Mew, and that Earthquake is doing absolutely no types of damage. So he's just gonna start Zen headbutting me down, flinching. You know how Zen headbutt works. But now he's gonna taunt to predict me from doing something like a rock polish or anything like that. But I don't have it. I'm just I believe I'm just 3 attacks with. Yeah, I'm just 3 attacks with rocks. So I'm gonna start going for Stone Edges here because it's definitely gonna take some crits to knock this thing out, and could definitely become a problem. He probably could bulk up a little bit more, to be honest, but he may not have a reliable healing move. Oh, here we go. He starts bulking up now. As I'm just going to go for the Ice Punch. Maybe just going for the freeze at this point. That seemed like my best out, as he's going to flinch me again. And once this thing goes down, that's pretty much game, I believe. Kyurem is going to be trying to do its best, but he's just going to pop that Zen headbutt, do a ton of damage. We're going to outrage. That does absolutely nothing. I think mostly physical Kyurem this week. I don't think the outrage was the right idea. Oh, it says here in the chat that I misclicked. Okay, I feel better. I feel better about that now because as soon as I saw that against a +2 defense Mew, I don't think that Ice Beam or anything would have done the kind of damage I needed, but at least would have been better than outraging into a +2 Mew. So here I'm just going to flex that I would have the Shattered Psyche on Rabambi for the Toxapex. He is just going to obliterate me, knock me out, and win 5-0 to start us off 0-4. So obviously not an ideal way to start, but hopefully we can shore it up with the rest of the season. We'll bounce right back into game 5, I guess technically. This is week 5. He's going to U-turn. This is against Aaron 2420. He's going to U-turn out as I get up my rocks. With leftovers, I'm not really worried about the U-turn, but I'm going to go right out into Nova here as he gets the critical hit on the Shadow Claw, which is obviously not ideal. And I'm going to fire off the Sub-Zero Slammer as he just gets obliterated. That's Z Free Shock, so the Yachi wasn't helping him live that. Here I'm very, very scared of what this thing wants to do. I'm going to throw out my Bronzong again as he just U-turns out. I didn't even know Naganadel got U-turn, but the more you know. So here I feel like I'm definitely kind of trapped in the Vortex. He's going to go ahead and knock off my Rotom, which sucks because I really would have liked those leftovers. And then he is going to U-turn right out into Cresselia. So here I opted to go for the Volt Switch, giving me a little bit of initiative, and I squander it by going straight into my Bronzong. So he goes hard out into Tapu Fini, I guess not predicting me to Gyro Ball, but I actually make a nice double out into Tangrowth. He Nature's Madness. I expected him to switch, which is why I went for the knockoff, and removing the Wakam Berry doesn't really do a whole lot for me. It helps a little bit with Kyurem taking on this Tapu Fini, but not much else, especially since I do sack off the Rotom after the Ice Beam Moonblast combo. But as you can see, I would not be able to knock out the Tapu Fini with Fusion Bolt anyway. I probably should have just gone right out into Bronzong, but we all make mistakes. He's going to go ahead and Ice Beam and freeze my Tangrowth. So Tangrowth is going to stay frozen, and he is going to go ahead and knock it out, which really sucks because Tangrowth was kind of important in this matchup with things like Mudsdale. I'm just going to fire off the Psychic as he goes right out into Naganadel, leading me to believe that he is Scarf, because I could be Scarf and he wasn't scouting for that. And again, since he U-turns, I'm definitely believing that Naganadel is Scarf at this point, and I don't really see a way to stop that Scarf Naganadel from sweeping my team. He's going to go ahead and knock off my Bronzong, which is an absolute bop, as he's going to Bullet Punch my Mimikyu, and I'm going to get the SD up. I probably should have just outright attacked, but as you can see, I am playing the game where I was hoping that he might switch or, whatever. There wasn't a whole lot I could do in that situation. So he's going to live the Draco Meteor here, knock off, and bring me all the way down to 6%. He's going to be able to Bullet Punch and knock me out, and that is the whole game. We lose 4-0 against the one, the only Aaron 2420. Next up, we play Professor Chipboard, and he has very interesting Pokemon, like this Quillfish in particular is very strange, but it's a solid Pokemon. The Intimidate is really nice, as well as the Toxic Spikes and everything. I'm just going to Volt Switch out. He didn't have a ground type, so I was not really too scared of it. Because I'm going to go right out into right on. Whoa, this is okay. Okay, this is going a little, that was going a little fast. Whew. Okay, so I'm going to go into right on as he doubles out into Tangela. And I am going, I get Bronzong in. He's going to switch into Charizard. We get the Stealth Rocks up. Yada, yada, yada. So, I obviously don't want to stay in. And I do have this nice Rotom Wash to block this Charizard. And he is going to Z Sunny Day, which is actually something that I expected in prep. This is not a Zard X or a Zard Y, guys. This is regular Charizard. And he is going to bot me, absolutely bot me with that Solar Beam. So, my team's not looking like it has a whole lot of switch-ins at this point. I'm going to have to go right here into my Mimikyu and just try to take this thing out. He is going to Flamethrower and break my Disguise, which is definitely unfortunate. I like to keep that intact as long as I can. But as you see, I am the red card, so he is going to get swapped right out into his Quillfish as I get the SD up. But I can't take it out with anything that I have, so I'm just going to bounce right back out into Bronzong as he reveals the Haze, which is a really nice utility move to have on a Pokemon like Quillfish. So he takes out this opportunity to set up the Toxic Spikes as I get a crit Zen Headbutt, doing about 60%, which is pretty solid. He is going to Destiny Bond this turn, unfortunately, as I'm going to Zen Headbutt again, take it out, and he is going to bop the Bronzong, you know, just by definition of the move. So he's definitely showed in this game that Quillfish can be very, very solid. I'm going to switch right into Rhydon, getting that poison on me, and he's going to U-turn out with the Jirachi, obviously not wanting to take on anything that this bulky mess has to do. And I am going to throw up the Substitute. So I am a subset this week, which is unfortunate that he did get the poison up because obviously Rhydon doesn't have any recovery. But he is going to Giga Drain, get all that health back, as I am going to reveal the Rock Slide doing nothing. So at this point, this Tangela is really looking like kind of a threat. I don't have a way to knock its Eviolite off. And yikes. So that's really all I have to say. I don't have a way of knocking its Eviolite off, so this thing is basically just going to be a very bulky thorn in my side. He switches into Zard, which takes 50 from rocks as I fire off the Ice Beam. So we do get a kill there, which is nice, bringing it back up to 4v4. But with that Tangela there, we pretty much have to end up in a situation where we have Kyurem Black and yeah. So I'm going to bounce right back out into Rhydon because I don't think there's anything that this Jirachi can really do except Iron Head and take all of my health combined with poison. So that's very unfortunate. We're just going to bounce right out here into Lucario, trying to threaten him out for some reason as he goes right into the Florges. So I'm going to throw off the Close Combat, which is going to do 26%, dropping my defense and special defense as the move does. I don't have to explain that. But we're going to fire off the Meteor Mash, and he is going to live because of the Babiri Berry and Synthesis up. So I think we can take him out with this one, as you can see, which is really nice. We don't get the attack boost this time, unfortunately, but at least we get rid of that Florges, which was going to be a little bit of a pain for the Kyurem Black. Now I'm just going to fire off the Close Combat, as he is going to retaliate with a Flame Charge, bringing me all the way down to my Sash. So he does get +1 speed, but I do have the Extreme Speed to knock this thing out. So I was pretty happy with that bit of prep, opting to bring Extreme Speed instead of Bullet Punch just because he had so many Bullet Punch resist. And now he is going to go right out into Jirachi, as I'm just going to sack this, get the very minimal chip that I can, as he is going to Iron Head and knock me out. He does get the crit, which probably mattered for that 1%, but I'm not going to hold it against him. We go right out here into our Mimikyu now, and this is a situation where Mimikyu would be a lot better with its Disguise because I would be able to maybe knock out this Jirachi, provided I don't flinch, obviously, but he's proven that he is faster. I think he's Scarf Jirachi, and that is going to be good game. So obviously a lot closer than the games we've had so far in the NPL, but that does bring us to 0 and let's see. That does bring us to 0 and 6. Which is obviously not the way you want to start out a season. So next up we play Mr. Illusion, a coach who's been doing a fantastic job this season. I think he only lost twice maybe or something like that. And who knows, maybe it was me that beat him. Let's find out. he's going to start off with the Superior, is I am going to go ahead and lead my Incineroar. This is a Pokemon that I really like, and I can't wait to use it with Intimidate. I'm just going to pop off the U-turn here as I decide to bounce right out into my Pinsir. I can threaten this thing out, and I would like to do that because obviously Komo-o is a massive threat, but as you can see, he is actually Scarf, and I am going to be able to knock him out. So he does get a good bit of damage off on my Mega Pinsir, which sucks because as you can see, he can go right out into Stack Attacka, live any hit, and even get up Stealth Rocks, to be honest, as he just opts to go for the Gyro Ball instead. Now, Night Bronzong out, I just go for the Stealth Rock. I figure there's not a whole lot he can do to me, and he does the same thing, which basically means that my Pinsir is now useless unless I can get the Rotom into Defog. So he ends up having Brutal Swing, which is a nice little tech for the Bronzong, as I'm able to get up a Light Screen and start trying to chip away at this thing with some Earthquakes. He did have the Shucka Berry the first time, allowing him to not be 2-hit KO'd, even though it would have been a roll to be 2-hit KO'd anyway. But now he is sitting at 30% with +1 defense. Now, I go into Rotom and I miss the Hydro Pump, which really sucks, as he's going to fire off a Stone Edge and take 43% of my health. But we do have the leftovers, so at least we can get right back into the 50% range and knock out this Stack Attacka with the Hydro Pump. I probably should have taken that opportunity to defog the rocks away so that my Mega Pinsir could put in more work, but unfortunately, that's not how it went down. I decided to sack off the Rotom there in case he wanted to set up a sub. I know I couldn't break it, but I could at least get some momentum off. I don't know what I'm saying. I didn't think he would go for the Leaf Storm, basically, although he had no reason not to. But I can now go right back into my Incineroar, which is AV, and pop off the U-turn, which unfortunately doesn't do as much damage as I was like. But we do have a Scarf Nihilego in the back, which is going to be able to Sludge Wave and knock out this Superior. So that is really nice. Nihilego is another Pokemon that I didn't get to use as much this season, but I really liked it. So he knows I'm Scarf, and he goes out into Blastphalion, leading me to believe that he is Scarf. So I'm going to go ahead and sack off the Pinsir here so that he does not get a Beast Boost, which was the most important thing to me. And I'm going to go right back out into Incineroar and try and live a Fire Blast or something. Obviously, I can't. I thought he might be locked into... Okay, yeah, see, so he did a good job of bluffing the Scarf there because I figured he would be locked into Shadow Ball and I could have lived one. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But now that he's revealed that he is not Scarf, I can go right out into Nihilego and just hit Power Gem. So Lanoon is going to come out, and I know that I cannot let this thing set up, but I also know that I cannot take it out and an E-Speed will knock me out. So I do have the tech. I'm going to go right out here into Mismagius as he is going to get his health back up with the Figgy Berry, and Destiny Bond as he goes for the Shadow Claw or the Seed Bomb, whichever he wanted to go for, because he obviously can't hit me with Extreme Speed, and I EV'd this to be faster than Lanoon. So now that thing is out of the way, and it is literally just Nihilego versus Mega Sharpedo. And unfortunately, this is something I learned in this game. The Mega rule is if you have someone like Sharpedo, you can protect turn 1 and not Mega Evolve. So because of that, he is going to be able to outspeed me because I did not speed creep a +1 Sharpedo, and he is going to hit the Liquidation and knock me out. So that was a really good game. I would have played it a little differently had I known the Mega rule for Sharpedo. But, you know, you live some, you learn some. I'll definitely know that for next season. And I still think it was one of the better games I had so far in the NPL. But it does leave us at 0-7 as we are going to move right on into our next game. So this is Minhum Yeet, and I'm trying to remember who that is. I think that it's Merc. I believe it's Merc. But we're just going to go ahead and play and see how this one turned out. He's going to go ahead and Mega Evolve with his Lopunny and Baton Pass right out into the big body Hydreigon, as I'm just going to fire off a Toxic. I didn't figure he would stay in. I just wanted to get the Toxic off on something coming in, as he's going to opt to go for the Draco Meteor and get the critical hit, which is really unfortunate because he definitely wouldn't have done that much damage. It would have been a lot of damage, but not that much damage. I don't think he would have been able to knock me out with a second Draco Meteor had the first not crit. But, you know, it's the game we play. Can't get too mad about it, as I'm going to go right out here into Nihilego. So He's going to go right out into this fat shit Porygon 2, because I'm going to fire off the Sludge Wave, and that does 56%. So that's basically another very free Sludge Wave, as he is going to switch out into a Seismitoad, which does resist. So, you know, not a bad switch. I obviously don't want to stay in here because Seismitoad can wreck me with both of its stabs. I'm just going to go right out into Tangrowth to try and threaten this thing out. Maybe get another Toxic off on something, or possibly just a knockoff or something like that. I'm really hoping I went for knockoff, seeing this Porygon come in, which I did, which is super nice because now that thing is super neutered. I thought, turns out that it is actually Choice Scarf Porygon, and I was not Assault Vest this week, so he went ahead and just bought me absolutely. But I'm going to lock myself into Grass Knot, thinking that he was going to be going into the Seismitoad that turn. He doesn't, and he is going to go right out into the Reuniclus. So Grass Knot's not going to be doing anything at all to this Reuniclus. I'm going to bounce right out into my Mismagius, trying to maybe force him to switch. But obviously, as you're going to see, he's going to set up the Trick Room and just start bopping heads. He takes out the Mismagius very easily. I'm going to go into Kyurem because at this point, I think it's pretty much the only thing on my team that could potentially live a hit, or, you know, at least miss a Focus Blast, and he ends up connecting, knocks me out. He has 2 turns of Trick Room left. I have 2 Pokemon. They're both weak to Psychic, and he has Rocks Up to break Sash. Yeah, that was a whopping. Merc absolutely tossed me in this game. This is just a classic example of just getting outplayed to oblivion. The crit didn't matter, but wow, yeah, I got bopped on that one. The Trick Room was the Trick Room was too strong. I got put in a wheelchair on that one. I cannot tell a lie. Next up, we are playing Alolan plus Absol, which I believe is Jay. Someone I've known for a while but haven't gotten the chance to play, so we'll get right into it. He's going to lead off with regular old Rotom, as I'm going to lead off with my good friend Nilego. Far off the Power Gem, as he's going to go for the Thunder Wave. I did not even think about him having Thunder Wave, and because this is a Scarf set, that is really, really unfortunate, because I'm not going to be able to outspeed some of the things on his team that I might need to, or if he has a Scarfer, he's going to be able to easily come at me in revenge. He misses the Meteor Mash there, but it would have done negative damage anyways, so that's not too big of a deal. So he is going to go into the Rotom as I actually go for the Foul Play. So he actually doesn't take much at all from that. Obviously, Rotom is not super offensively invested, but I'm just going to fire off the Volt Switch, knowing I can tank anything he wants to go for, and he lives on 3%. So here I'm just going to go out into Pinsir and Quick Attack, just to ensure that I get rid of this thing. I don't like facing Pokemon that are Scarfed, and I definitely wasn't looking to get swept by a Scarf Rotom, so that is that. I wanted to stay in and attack here, but I couldn't risk it. I figured he might be going for Stealth Rocks, but he actually ends up going for the Solar Beam, which was a solid tech for my good friend, what's his face, Rotom. I'm hoping that I can knock this thing out with a Power Gem, but he ends up having a Charty Berry, so even with the crit, I can't knock him out, and he is going to crit Earthquake, knock me out in return. I don't know if that mattered, but it happened, so, you know, just narrating it as it comes. I'm going to be able to take this thing out with a big old pump, and he is going to go right out hard into his Zard. So this is Zard X, and I'm not super scared. This is my Zard X counter anyway, so I'm definitely, well, I say I'm definitely staying in, but I'm going to go ahead and Volt Switch just because I know that I can go into my Lucario. This is Focus Sash Lucario. This was my only answer to the Charizard, so I maintained it healthy, Earthquaked, and knocked it out. I'm not sure if that critical hit mattered. I don't think it does. I was adamant, obviously, since I was depending on being able to take out a Dragon Dance one. I didn't put any speed in this. It was mostly just attack. I think I ran an adamant, but he's going to be able to knock me out with the Landorus Earthquake, which is fine. I'm just going to go right out here into my Kyurem. I know that he could probably take me out with a Stone Edge or something, but just gambling on misses as we get lucky, don't get flinched, and knock him out with the Ice Beam. So now it's looking pretty solid for us. It is 4-on-2, and the only thing I'm really worried about is a Crocoon set coming to ruin my day. So he's going to fire off the Meteor Mash. He does connect this time, but he doesn't get the attack boost, which is unfortunate since that would be the main advantage of using it against my Rotom, seeing his leftovers will always recover off the damage that he did to me. And he's going to go for the Grass Knot. I Volt Switched out, kind of scouting for that, and he's going to play hard out into Suicune. I go for the Darkness Lariat, just trying to make a nice little mid-ground play. And that does no types of damage. So I can tell he is definitely physically defensive. And he starts setting up the Curse, which is obviously not ideal. I'm going to U-turn right on out of there and go into my Kyurem Black just to try and blow this thing away. He ends up switching, which is interesting, but oh no, he switches Scouting for the Z move. So I go for the Gigavolt Havoc, and it almost knocks out the Metagross. And I don't want to stay in here because he does have the option of Bullet Punch, and he is going to do that right there. I take very minimal from that with my Mega Pinsir, as he is just going to keep Bullet Punching, trying to get that damage off. I'm going to Earthquake, knock out the Metagross, and now it is looking really good for me. As long as I don't allow this Suicune to set up, which I don't think it can on this Pinsir, we're going to be in a pretty solid position. He's going to Curse up here, but I do get to knock off his leftovers, meaning that he's going to have to rest if he wants to avoid getting, you know, which means he's going to have to rest if he wants to recover. And I'm going to almost knock him out with the return, and it's going to take the second one, but we do actually snag our first win in the NPL. 4-0 against Jay. So that was really nice just to grab a win. A lot of the pressure for the season was kind of taken off of me. I really didn't want to go winless. I haven't been in a league where I've gone winless, and I don't plan on doing that. So always nice to just snag that nice little win, even if it is late in the season. Just definitely helps motivate me to get back into doing the league. So we are going to move right on into our next game, which is versus Trevor. And he had a very scary team. There's things like Hoopa that are just going to be able to lay down a lot of hurt pretty much anytime it comes in, depending on what set it was. So I am going to go here for the Sludge Wave as he ends up protecting. Now, I'm actually not a Scarf set this week. I'm going to Sludge Wave again here, which is going to do minimal damage to the Gliscor. And because he switched into it, I think that he probably thinks that I'm Scarf, but I am not. I'm outspeed. I'm going to be able to bop him with the Hidden Power Ice and take out the Gliscor turn 3, which is really nice for my Mega Pinsir to be able to put in some work. Now, here I really wanted to switch. I had really good switches, but decided not to. And he reveals to be Scarfed Hoopa, which really sucks. Unfortunately, I did not do my calcs correctly. I really should have gone Lucario here, but unfortunately, I did not make that call. So I'm going to bounce out here trying to get some Regenerator, hoping he may switch because he could still get some momentum back, but he is actually just going to Hyperspace Fury, crit my Rotom, and steal my leftovers for good measures. So that is really unfortunate, as I'm just going to fire off the Volt Switch on the Breloom, get on out of there, go right back out into my Pinsir because I just want to get the Mega off and start putting in some damage. So he goes into the Raichu here as I Swords Dance. Unfortunately, I really should have just gone for the EQ or something like that, but I didn't, and he reveals the Nasty Plot. It never occurred to me that he might be running Nasty Plot Raichu. I was thinking maybe Specs or Scarf, but no, it is Nasty Plot Raichu, and he is going to bop my Rotom very easily. So we do live the Psychic, which is nice, and fire off our Z Hail, meaning we are able to outspeed our Raichu, but I still think that I popped this a little earlier than I should have. Truth be told, cards on the table. As I go for the Earth Power here, had I gone for the Ice Beam there, I would have been in a much better position because I would have knocked out the Breloom and it would not be able to Mach Punch and knock me out. But because of that, I am pretty much forced to switch unless I want to lose my Kyurem, as he actually plays me pretty hard and doubles out right into Victini. So that was really smart on his part. Really predicted my switch there. I go for the return here, just trying to... I don't know what I was trying to do there. Just trying to get some damage off on the Victini, I think. But he was going to bot me with the Blue Flare. Maybe hoping that he was physical and that he would be slower than my Kyurem after a V-Create or something. But that was obviously not the case. I'm going to knock off the Hoopa with my Tangrowth. Get rid of the leftovers that he stole from my Rotom. And in comes Diancie. So I'm not really sure what this Diancie is going to do to me. I am AV, so he gets a special attack drop, which is fine because I'm actually physical, and we're going to bop this with the Power Whip and take it out in a clean one-hit KO. So he's going to go right out into Victini here, and I bounce to get my Regenerator back up. I decide to sack off the Kyurem just because I think Lucario might have an item that can help me out. I can't exactly remember. I don't think so, considering that I am going Tangrowth here. And he is just going to bob straight to Breloom as I fire off the knockoff and get rid of its life orb. So I'm not sure what it's going to do to me. He's just going to Mach Punch here. It's going to do, you know, a little over a quarter. But we are going to be able to knock this thing out with the hidden power. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to bounce right out here into Lucario. Just sacking it off, trying to get as much health as possible on my Tangrowth, trying to live this blue flare as we come back in at 88%. He's going to blue flare here, and because of the AV, I am going to live, but he does get the burn, which is really unfortunate, because we are going to Earthquake, knock this out, and he pretty much just comes in with the Raichu and clicks Psychic and wins the game. So this game was really, really close. Tangrowth put in a ton of work. This is probably one of my favorite Pokemon I've used in the Draft League format, and this game kind of shows why. It's super bulky. It came in, but it also has that 110 attack stat is no joke either. So, you know, definitely recommend Tangrowth. But we'll talk more about the Mons on my team after we finish up these games. We are now 1-8. No, we're now 1-9. Heading into week 11, where we play against Eric, coach of the Reno Reggies. Now, we've played twice already in the IBA, so you know, I feel like I need to adjust this page. It goofed on me. Sorry. Okay, so we've played twice in the IBA already, so I feel like we have a little bit of experience battling each other. We're 1-1 in the IBA, so this is kind of the tiebreaker for this current round of seasons. And I'll just hop right into it. He is going to lead Mamoswine, because I'm going to go ahead and lead off with my Bronzong. So he decides to throw off the Stealth Rocks, which is fine. I'm going to fire off a Gyro Ball, and that does minimal damage. So obviously not the best move. I probably should have just gotten my rocks up to begin with, or at least a Reflect to begin with. But as you see, he's going to knock off my Light Clay, meaning that Reflect is not going to be doing as much. Instead of Gyro Balling, I really should have gotten the rocks up and the Reflect up, you know, etc., etc. But I also think that I was trying to break the sash on Mamoswine, even though, you know, rocks would have done that, forcing it out later. Whatever. He gets the Leech Seed off, as I am just going to defog all the rocks away and stuff. I don't really want any of my Pokemon taking the rocks damage, and he makes a solid prediction there and goes into the Mamoswine, being able to set up rocks again. Even though he doesn't, he is going to switch hard out into the Venusaur as I fire off the Hydro Pump, trying to catch him, maybe resetting rocks with the Mamoswine. So I bounce right back out here into my AV Incineroar, probably one of my favorite sets that I've been running this season, as he is going to Leech Seed. So he's got a lot of Leech Seed on the team this week, just trying to wear me down. He Sludge Bombs, he poisons me, which is really unfortunate, as I am just going to U-turn out into Pinsir. He switches right out into Celesteela. Definitely a solid move. I believe I'm probably... Okay, no, I went for the close. I actually went for the attack, guys. Look at that. But now he is pretty much just able to fire off a very free Leech Seed as I switch, because I obviously don't want to stay in. And that's exactly what he does. He's got the double Leech Seed. He may even have Leech Seed on Comfy. I can't remember. Just really whittling down my team without really ever having to click an attacking move. So not bad on his part at all. I am going to go for the knockoff, which is unfortunate because he does go right into the Venusaur on that, which again, maybe a nice prediction. I'm not sure. But anyway, he's going to Sludge Bomb, knock me out. I'm going to go right here into my Mega Pinsir, which is a mon that I also really like, but the weakness to rock is probably a reason I'll never pick it up again. Is I'm going to make a double out into my Kyurem as he doubles out into his own Celesteela, getting most of his health back. So he doesn't want to risk taking a Fusion Bolt, as he's going to bounce right back out into his Comfy, but I actually throw up a Substitute, which is nice. So he is going to fire off a Leech Seed, as I'm going to do a pretty solid chunk of damage to it. Oh, so he does have triple. No, sorry, it's a Draining Kiss. My bad. So I don't want to stay in on another Draining Kiss, and I do have a pretty solid switch in Bronzong. There's not a whole lot this Comfy can do to me, and it will give me an opportunity possibly to get rocks back up, as he is just going to double right out into Mamoswine. I probably could have made an aggressive double, or at least gone for the Reflect instead of the Light Screen, but I was not playing super aggressively this game. which is unfortunate because he was making lots of switches and utilizing Leech Seed to kind of keep his team healthy overall. He does get the rocks back up, meaning Pinsir is pretty much dead. We missed the Hydro Pump on the Venusaur, which is not a super big deal just because it wouldn't have done anything anyway. I predicted he's going to try and go for the Sludge Bomb or the Leech Seed, and with the light screen up, it's not going to be doing a whole lot, so I just decided to defog the rocks away, trying to preserve my win cons as much as I can. And I'm just going to get a Will-O-Wisp off on this Venusaur, just trying to chip it down a little bit. I know it does have the Leech Seed currently, but it won't always have the Leech Seed, and it's just so fat. I really do feel like I needed the extra damage off every single turn. So I'm going to Volt Switch out right into my Bronzong again, as he is just going to go for the Giga Drain. And we tanked that fairly well, so that's not very bad. I'm not sure what we'll do on this turn. We could possibly predict, but instead I think we're just probably going to set up oh no, we go ahead for the Gyro Ball, which is a whopping 12%, assuming I don't have any sort of psychic move on this Bronzong this week. But oh well. I get the Stealth Rocks up, but as you see, he goes right into Mamoswine and goes ahead and gets the Leech Seed. So I really wish I would have died there because I could have gone into something to prevent him from getting rocks up, but unfortunately I live on 1% and he is able to get the rocks up and just depend on Leech Seed to knock me out. So that's really unfortunate, because now a lot of my I guess Kyurem and Mega Pinsir are both weak to rocks, and I just need to take this opportunity to defog and get rid of them. So now I'm going to be able to outspeed. He does have Venusaur Mega. I really wish I Volt Switch here, but I assume I probably pumped, which I did. And that is basically going to give this Venusaur another Leech Seed. I decide not to Volt Switch for whatever reason, as he is just going to Synthesis. So now the Pinsir is in, which is really nice because this thing's going to be able to start doing some damage, although I squandered that opportunity by switching hard out into my Rotom Wash as he goes into the Celesteela. So that's not bad, actually. This is a pretty favorable matchup for me, but he always has this Venusaur in the back just to sit here and soak up any hit my Rotom wants to go for. So obviously not ideal. I'm going to take this opportunity to bounce out into Nihilego as he goes for the Leech Seed. So again, just constantly using Leech Seed and healing moves to keep his whole team healthy, pivoting back and forth between Celesteela and the Venusaur, as he is going to go hard Meloetta on my Psychic, and that is going to do negative damage. I mean, absolutely nothing. I decided to sack off Rotom here because really all it's doing is just wasting time, prolonging the inevitable. So I decided to go right here into my Mega Pinsir, but instead of going for close combat or something, I opt to go for the return, and the Celesteela eats that really well. So I imagine he's just going to Leech Seed here, so I go hard out into my Kyurem, trying to catch something on the switch, because at this point I feel like I've done enough chip to where he doesn't really want to take anything. Although that was really unfortunate there. I predicted that he would go into the Mamoswine on the Fusion Bolt and just whiffed. Absolutely whiffed. We fire off the Giga Bolt, have it now, but it is too late. Had we just even hit it with an Ice Beam, we would have knocked it out last turn. But he is going to be able to take us out with 2 Heavy Slams and get that +1 defense boost. But he is at 22%, so it's not final, but he goes out to Meloetta as I am going to fire off the big Thunderbolt, which is going to do 14% to the Meloetta. As you can see, I'm not choice this week. I'm just going to fire off a Power Gem as he just bonks me with the Psyshock. So basically my only hope here is for him to just lose internet and not come back and not play Pokemon for the rest of his life and not care. But hey, look on the bright side. At least we do get a kill here with our Mega Pinsir, lowering the score to, I think, a nice 5-0, as he is going to be able to go into the Aerodactyl, fire off the Z Continental Crush, and put the nail in the coffin on this game in particular. And I'm not bringing you our Week 12 battle because we got the forfeit from our good friend Davian, just because I hit him up the Monday of the week, and he was getting ready to go to PAX, and then he went to PAX, and when he got back he had a lot of stuff to do and just couldn't find a time for us to get the game in, so he gave me the forfeit. So we did go 2-10 in this season with a negative 28 differential, which is obviously not good. But I feel like I learned a lot this season. I'm really excited to come back for next season of the NPL. And I'm... I hope you guys enjoyed this, because some of these games were definitely not pretty. And it was hard to convince myself to put the games up as they were happening, especially games like where I play Merc and just got absolutely tossed like a nice autumn salad. I don't know if you toss autumn salads, I don't know, but regardless, really enjoyed this season despite the record. I enjoyed some of these Pokemon. I am going to talk about a couple of these. Really, obviously, Kyurem Black. I don't think I want to draft Kyurem Black again. I mean, it's good, it's super strong, but I just don't think it's a mon that excels in my hands particularly. Nilego, it went 3 and 5 for me, but I feel like with better team support, it could have been a lot better, and it's definitely a Pokemon that I will consider drafting again in the future. I liked its ability to be a little speedy as well as tanky on the special defensive side. It gets pretty solid coverage, rocks, toxic spikes. I like Nilego a lot. Mega Pinsir was a lot of fun to use, but as I said earlier, falling over every time Stealth Rocks come on the field is something I really would like to avoid drafting. I don't mind hazard control. I don't mind using defog and rapid spin and things like that, but I don't like teams that rely on them, because it kind of forces you to bring one every single week. So, and you may not necessarily want to, but using a Pokemon like Mega Pinsir, I obviously have to bring hazard removal every single week, or they will just get rocks up, and that will pretty much be the end of it, because I will only get one switch in essentially. Tangrowth is a mon I will definitely draft again. Huge fan of Tangrowth. Cannot praise it enough. It went 5 and 4 for me, so it went positive. I think it might have been my only. Yeah, it was my only Pokemon that went positive on my whole team was Tangrowth. So it does a fantastic job as a defensive pivot. Obviously, still with the Assault Vest, it's a little bit bulkier on the special side, but it's got great defense, great, blah blah blah. You guys know what Tangrowth does. I'm just rambling. We'll go on and talk about Bronzong. Bronzong, it was okay. It gets decent coverage, but I never found it doing the damage that I would have liked. You would have to utilize something like a weakness policy, which you can, because it does have pretty stout defenses in general. But obviously, I'm not as big of a fan of more passive walls, and I feel like Bronzong is very passive, unless I was just using it wrong, which is also very likely. But I don't think I'll be picking up Bronzong anytime in the near future. Rotom Wash is a Pokemon I really like. I think that being able to fire off Hydro Pumps as well as the Thunderbolts, it gets Volt Switch. I love having that, love having that momentum moves. Will-O-Wisp is really nice. I pretty much like any defensive Pokemon that has a move like Will-O-Wisp, because it makes it a little easier to wear down your opponent's team, as well as neutering those oh so pesky physical attackers until we get that physical Assault Vest. So yeah, I'll definitely probably pick up Rotom Wash in the future. We have Mismagius, a Pokemon I really liked. It's obviously a little frail, but with Nasty Plot and things like that, I never got to utilize a Nasty Plot set, but with Scarf and Destiny Bond and things like that, it definitely has its place on any team. And I would hazard to say that if you have an opponent or if you're in a division with somebody who has drafted Linoon, I would honestly pick up Mismagius, because as you can see, getting rid of the Linoon was really solid. If you don't have a super strong Steel type or something like that to deal with the Linoon and you're trying to counter team your division a little bit, I would definitely say that Mismagius is a solid counter to that, because after the Destiny Bond, Linoon does get Shadow Claw, so there's a heavy possibility that it will knock you out, especially at +4. It's pretty much anything is going to knock out a Mismagius, because as I said, it's not super bulky. We also have Rhydon. Rhydon was okay. I think I probably misused it throughout the season. I didn't bring it to a ton of games. I brought it to 4 games. It never got a kill, but it was okay. It was very thick, but usually my opponents had decent answers to it. It seems like a Pokemon that is a little bit more situational, as most of these lower tier Pokemon are. So I'm not going to say I won't draft it ever again, but I was whelmed. I wasn't overwhelmed, or I wasn't underwhelmed with it, but I also wasn't super impressed with it. So, you know, very whelmed. We have Incineroar. I love Incineroar. I cannot wait for it to get Intimidate. It's got pretty solid coverage, and the AV set is super, super bulky. Slow U-turns are really, really nice for momentum, and I really don't know what else to say. I really, really like Incineroar, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to cop it again in the future now that it has a much better ability. We have Lucario. I do not want to draft Lucario again. I've had it in a couple of leagues. It's strong if you can get it set up, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Most opponents have techs that are going to be able to take down a Lucario. It's very unlikely that unless you wait until the very late game that Lucario is going to be able to sweep a team. I mean, for other people, maybe. For my personal style, not so much. So, Lucario is one I'll probably leave on the tier sheet next time I look at what I want on a team as far as ad drops or in, or a draft. Togekiss is a mod I never used. I mean, I literally never used it once, I don't think. It just never really had that good of a matchup against any of my opponents, but what can you do? We also had Rabombi, as you know, which I was not super big on. I think it's okay, but in this league in particular, it just didn't really do a whole lot for me, and I found myself more often than not only bringing it for webs, and there are other web setters that I like. It's definitely a solid Pokemon, but it didn't fit this team in particular, in my opinion. We also had Latios, which, I mean, I like the Lotties. They're pretty solid. I don't think I'll draft one for a while, just because they're pretty straightforward. Maybe a Mega Lottie, definitely. But I feel like both Lotties are typically going to be choiced in order to get the most out of them, whether that be Scarf or Specs. So, just not really, I don't really like Pokemon that you're kind of pigeonholed into using certain items with. Obviously, besides Mega Pokemon, but that's a whole different story. We also had Liepard, which, as I said, I really didn't like. On paper, it's okay, but it really is not doing a whole lot to most teams. Prankster Taunt is pretty solid. You can use it for, I mean, if you want to have like a weather team, you can use it to set up priority weather, I guess, but there's not a whole lot I could really have to say about Liepard. I didn't like it. And we had Mimikyu. I'm on that, while I really, really like it, well, actually, no, I'll tell you exactly what happened. I had Mimikyu. I love Mimikyu. I think it did pretty okay for me in this league, and I think I prepped well with Mimikyu, but I had to help out my boy Nova. He was trying to get rid of Sylveon and had no more ad drops. So, I'm sorry, he was trying to pick up Sylveon, but had no more ad drops. So, I dropped Mimikyu to pick up Sylveon and traded it to him for Togekiss because I didn't really care. I'm just trying to use different Pokemon at this point, and I had already used the Mimikyu. So, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think. I'll let you guys know whenever NPL starts rolling around again. I'm not sure. We're still in the midst of playoffs, so I'm not exactly sure when that's all going to end. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.